Hello and welcome back to another edition of Logician Tim Learns with me, your host, Logician Tim. That's right, this is the show where you get to watch me go from a total gaming newbie to a more informed gaming newbie. How about that? What's going on, you guys? Hope you guys had a great weekend. I sure did. We've been working on some awesome stuff at the office, and I can't wait to show you guys. That'll be coming out soon. Working on Gen Con. If you're going to be at Gen Con, let me know. Come up. I'll let you know where I'm at. We're going to have a booth there. And come up and say hi. Like, tell me you know me from the show or something. That'd be really cool. Really cool. So, yeah, let me know about that. So we're back, and we're talking about this D&D starter set. And if you notice behind me there, I had the D&D Essentials kit as well. So my plan is to finish up this book and then dive right into that set and see what the differences are from a total newbie perspective and see what they give us. And then after that, we're going to dive into the D&D books, like the full version. And so, yeah, I'm kind of excited about it. Like the whole month, July is the month of D&D now for me. And so I'm really excited about it. So, last week we went over combat, like how to make attacks, what happens when your hit points fall below zero, healing, and all that kind of stuff. Tonight, we are going to be going over spellcasting. And I always love to play a caster. You know this. I've said this a million times. I'm always the caster guy. I have no clue why. It's just always appealed to me for some reason. Just casting spells, especially in D&D, seems like it's a little bit more complicated than melee attacks. It's not hard per se. There's just a lot more things to kind of keep track of, I guess. And I think I'm attracted to that kind of more complicated and thought out. It's not really more thought out, like I'm superior or something like that, but it's like, it just seems like there's more stuff to keep up with, and I just really enjoy that. Like knowing the right spell, I guess, to use at the right time can definitely save a party from really a bad situation. And I've always played them in like the video games that I play. I always like being that, hey, if I get the right spell out here, I can save everybody. And I just love that. You have to make it work, make it count, right? So, awesome. Hey, Scott, good to see you, my dude. In his wife's car, but his Bluetooth is acting crazy. All right, dude. Well, you can watch it back later. I know you usually do. So, all right. So, yeah, we're going to be talking about the spells. First, we're going to start talking about spell levels. Let's flip open our book here. And I have, we were talking about our warrior character sheet all week, last week, but warriors don't cast spells. So we're going to be talking about our level 1 wizard here, and we're going to be using that character sheet as an example today. Let's flip back here to our Spellcasting chapter. Here we go. Beautiful art, as always. Everything has been beautiful. All the artwork in here has been fantastic, so really digging it. All right, so let's talk about spell levels, known and prepared spells, and spell slots for just a minute. Okay, we're going to kind of start with that. Now, spells in the starter kit, they have a level from 0 to 3 included in this starter kit, but spells can go as high as level 9 in the full version, but they only go up to level 3 in this starter kit. Now, the spell level gives you an idea kind of how powerful that spell is, right? A level 3 spell is typically more powerful than a level 1 spell. Not always, but typically, right? There's also what they call cantrips, which are considered level 0, and I'll be going over that in just a few minutes, all right? But just know there's like a level 0 spell too, cantrips. Now, the higher the spell's level, the higher the caster needs to be able to cast that spell. That makes sense, right? But it's not a 1-to-1 ratio. All right. You might think that if a spell is level 3, that I would need to be level 3 to cast it. That's actually not the case. In fact, you need to be level 5. Your character has to be level 5 before you can cast a level 3 spell. All right. And all of this is kind of indicated on the back of our character sheet. They have this nice little spellcasting advancement chart here for us that tells us what level we can cast spells, right? And so at 5th level, we can see we can cast up to 2 level 3 spells. At the 4th level, we can cast level 2 spells. At 3rd level, we can cast a couple level 2 spells, and so on. So it kind of tells us right here, but it's not, you kind of have to, glance at your character sheet. It's not just intuitive. It's not like, hey, I'm level 1, so I can cast level 1. I'm level 5, so I can cast level 5. That's not how it works. You have to check your spell level requirements, right? Now, let's see here. So yeah, I've talked about the spell levels. Now, before you can use a spell, you have to have it kind of firmly fixed in your mind. Clerics and wizards go through this process of preparing spells, okay? So this is like known or prepared spells. Now, the number of spells that are kind of fixed in your mind in this way, prepared at one time, is listed on the character sheet. All right, so if you're at level 1, you're going to start off with, what was it? If you're level 1, you can have 4 spells kind of memorized or prepared. I think I memorized because that's how EverQuest said it. It was like memorized. You know, that's the spells that you can cast at that moment. That's kind of what this is, right? But at level 1, that you can actually have 4 spells memorized, meaning you can cast 4 different spells, all right? At level 2, we look at our chart here, level 2, it tells us that we can have 5 prepared spells, right? At level 3, you can have 6, and so on. I think at the 5th level, you get 9 spells that you can have kind of memorized or prepared using their terminology. Now, you can change this prepared list of spells, but you have to do it after a long rest, okay? So you just have to spend some time, like what they call in meditation or study, and it's like 1 minute per spell. 1 minute per spell level for each spell that you want on your prepared spell list, okay? And I keep calling it memorize the spells because that's just that's the nomenclature that I've used in EverQuest, but I need to learn this nomenclature here. This is a prepared spell list, right? The spells that you can use at any given time. So this is kind of tough on the casters, to be honest. You have to think about the sorts of things that you might need later on in that day, even though you have no clue what awaits you that day, right? It's an adventure. Like, I don't know if I'm going to be making stuff or blowing stuff up or healing a lot or whatever, right? So you have to kind of choose your prepared spells wisely. You wake up in the morning after you rested and you have to choose those spells and you have to do it wisely. And it takes some forethought and maybe a little bit of intuition almost to figure out what you might need later on in that day. And that just sounds kind of fun to me. It's not like, hey, I have a sword. My sword will pretty much work in every battle that I need it to. So I just carry the sword around. Wizards have to kind of carry around these different tools, right? And they only can carry so many of these spells every day, and they kind of have to make sure that you prepare the right ones. I just think that sounds really fun to me. So we start talking a little bit about spell slots. All right. So regardless of how many prepared spells that you have or how many spells that you know altogether, you can only cast a limited number of spells before resting. Casting spells is really mentally taxing for you, and casting higher level spells is even more taxing on you mentally, right? Now, to represent this effect of being kind of mentally taxed by casting spells, Dungeons & Dragons uses what is known as spell slots. And spell slots are machines that you put spells into, and you pull a lever, and you can win even more spells. Okay, no. Spell slots are not the same as nickel slots at the casino. Okay, totally different. Completely different, as a matter of fact. What spell slots are in Dungeons & Dragons is they tell you how many and what level spells you can cast until you're maxed out for the day, all right? At level 1, you can have 2 first level spell slots. That's how many that you have. You have 2 1-level spell slots. This means you can cast 2 1-level spells. Then you'll need to finish a long rest in order for you to be able to cast any more spells. For your spell slots are empty and you can cast 2 more. Does that make sense? But there's actually more to it than that. So notice how I said that there's 2 first level slots. That's right. There's different level spells. They require different level spell slots. Okay. So the way the book describes this is pretty neat. Let me tell you how the book kind of describes this. They say when a character casts a spell, they expend a slot of that spell's level or higher. So you can think of a spell slot as a groove of a certain size. Okay, it's really small for a level 1 spell spot. It's larger for a spell of a higher level. So like a first level spell is going to fit into a level 1 spell slot. It can also fit in a level 2 or level 3 spell slot as well. Does that make sense? But it doesn't work the other way around. A level 3 spell only fits in a level 3 or higher spell slot. Does that make sense? So you can use a lower level spell in a higher slot, but not vice versa, right? Now at level 3, you have 4 first level spell slots and 2 second level spell slots. So that means for the day, if you're at level 3, you can cast 4 level 1 spells and 2 level 2 spells. Does that make sense? All right. Or since I have those 2 level 2 spells, I could use those spell slots to cast 2 more level 1 spells, right? So I could actually cast a couple more level 1 spells. Now, if you use a higher level spell slot for a lower level spell like this, I'm using a level 1 spell and putting it into a level 2 spell slot, then the spell actually assumes the higher level for that casting. And if you're casting like Magic Missile, which is a level 1 spell, and I use a level 2 spell slot for that, the Magic Missile spell is being cast not at level 1, but at level 2. And some spells, like Magic Missile, they have more powerful effects when you use them in this way, and you use a higher level spell slot for them, and it's noted in the spell's description what kind of added effects that you get. So, to kind of sum it up, the spell slots, they kind of limit the amount of spells that you can cast per day, basically, right? If you're like me, you might be saying, wait a minute, I'm a freaking wizard. I cast spells, man. It's what I do. It's what I do. It's all I can do. And I can't wear armor. I have to wear robes and crap. Like, what do I do when all my spell slots are gone? I mean, do I just stand there like a freaking idiot? The answer is yes. You can stand there like an idiot if you want to, but just know you don't have to. And that's where these cantrips come in. All right. There are spells that you can cast that do not use a spell slot, and they're called cantrips. You don't have to prepare them in advance or anything. They're considered level 0 spells. Cantrips are magic basically that you've practiced and rehearsed so much that it's become kind of like second nature to you and takes pretty much no mental energy to perform. You just got it down pat, right? Now, the book lists a number of these cantrips that you used for our level 1 wizard. They listed on our sheet that we get Mage Hand, Prestidigitation. Yeah, say that one. Prestidigitation. Wow. Mouthful. Ray of Frost and Shocking Grasp. And you can basically cast these whenever you want, and they don't cost you anything. And so if you want to save your spell slots for later, or if you've already burned through all your spell slots for the day, then you can bust out these cantrips, and this is going to allow you to be more than just a bump on the log. You're not going to be doing like crazy damage with them like you would maybe your Magic Missile or something like that, but at least you can still be doing something, right? Now, some spells have a special tag called a ritual, and this means you can cast it following the normal rules, or you can cast it as a ritual. And the ritual version of spell will take you a longer amount of time, usually like 10 minutes or longer, and it doesn't expend a spell slot. So just know that if you're out, you can still do a ritual. It just might take you 10 minutes or an hour or however long the ritual takes. You can still do that, but you're definitely not going to be as efficient because it doesn't expend a spell slot. So now we've gone over kind of what spells are, what the spell slots are, what the spell levels are, cantrips, those type of things. Now, let's get into actually casting the spells. Like, how does that work? Pretty much everything in this section that I'm about to go over is noted in the individual spell or cantrip description in the back of the book. All right. So let's go back here a little bit. Yeah, here we go. So they have this whole section of spells and cantrip descriptions. Like, it has everything that you need to know about them. The description is going to tell you things like the level of the spell, the casting time, the range, right? It's got to have a range, any components that may be needed, and also the duration of the spell. Now, let's kind of go over these a little bit at a time. Let's talk about casting time first. So most spells are going to cost a single action to cast, all right? So it's just going to use up your one action. But some are going to require a bonus action or a reaction, right? Or maybe just much more time than just one action. So some spells, including rituals, they're going to require a lot more time to cast. Minutes maybe several minutes or maybe even hours, right? If you're casting a super long spell or performing a ritual longer than a single action, then you have to spend your action each turn that you get casting this spell. You can't take a break and do something else. You have to maintain what they call concentration while you're casting the spell or doing this ritual, or else the spell fails. And if you fail, you have to start all over again. So if you've been concentrating for 30 minutes and you fail, you lose your concentration, you have to start all over again. So other spells actually require you to maintain this concentration just as long as you want to keep the effect going, right? And so I want to talk about real quickly, how do you lose concentration? And you can actually end your concentration whenever you want. So if you're holding something in the air using your brain with this spell, you can just kind of pretty much keep it there for the duration of the spell, or until, if it tells you that you can, one of them is like up to a minute. So if I'm holding this thing up with my mind for up to a minute and it's been 10 seconds and I'm done with it, I can just drop my concentration willingly and it goes away, right? It drops to the ground or whatever. The effect ends, right? But you can lose your concentration not by your own choice sometimes. And there's a few different ways that you can do this. Now, number one, you can cast a different spell that requires concentration. All right. So let's say I'm holding this thing up in the air with my head, with my mind, right? This magic. And I want to light something else on fire that, and burn this flame or something. And it takes concentration to do so. Well, then as soon as I do that, then this thing is going to fall to the ground. All right. So casting another spell that requires concentration is going to break your concentration. Also, taking damage can make you lose your concentration. You actually it doesn't do it automatically. You do get to make some saving throws to see if you keep that concentration. So there's that. Also, being incapacitated, like you're knocked out or killed, makes you lose your concentration. Who would have thunk it, right? Makes sense to me, right? So yeah, I could see like you maybe charming somebody or something, and you have this charm on them for like a week or something, and you're really concentrating hard. I don't even know if that's how it works, but something like really important, and then you get knocked out and you forget about it, and then all of a sudden, your charm's not working anymore, and something bad happens. I'm sure that happens before. It sounds funny to me anyways. All right. Now let's talk about spell components. Some spells need components, or at least some physical requirements in order to be cast. And so some have, and they use these letters next to their name in the spell description. They'll either say V for verbal, S for somatic, or M for material. All right. And some of them have one or more of these listed. Some of them have all of these listed. And so a verbal component is where you have to chant like some mystical words in order to cast a spell. So if you're gagged or like in the cone of silence or area of silence, as they call it, then you won't be able to cast that type of spell. Okay. Some have somatic components to them. And somatics are basically like hand gestures, right, that are needed to cast this type of spell. And to use a somatic component, if the spell requires a somatic component, then you have to have at least one hand free to be able to cast that spell, right? So that's easy enough. Now, others require a material component to be able to cast them. So you have to physically have whatever it is, whatever material or object or whatever to cast the spell with you on your person. I think you might have to, I think some of them you can hold in your hand, and it doesn't even if you're holding with two hands, you can still cast. It doesn't like ruin your somatic or anything like that. Some spells just require you to have whatever that is like on your person. And so like you can have it and it's not consumed by when you cast it, right? You get to keep it. But other spells will actually consume that material, and you'll have to replenish your stash basically in order to use that spell again. All right. So just know that some of these spells do require components for you to be able to cast. So yeah, it's really complicated, a lot more complicated to me. I don't know, being a caster than it is melee. Like I can just go out there and bash stuff with melee, and I don't need like special chicken nuggets or whatever it may be in order to bash this guy again. I can just keep smacking him over the head, right? But spellcasters, they don't have it so easy. They have to keep up with all these components and all this crap, right? And yeah, it's a lot more to it. It just seems like it to me. I could be wrong. Now, let's talk a little bit about the area of effect spells. And these are really cool, right? I think we've all heard about some of these. Now, some spells are single target, right? I'm going to cast this damage on this creature, right? Others can impact not just a single target, but an entire area, okay? And these types of spells, these area of effect spells, are going to affect everything in the area that you cast it at, right? And everything in that area. So let's say I'm casting this damage spell. I'm going to cast it in this one area that all these creatures are in. Well, everything in the range of that damage, of that area of effect spell, is going to take damage. Does that make sense? So they have kind of like a point of origin that you can set, and it's kind of going to go out from there, and they have different shapes to them as well. That's noted in the spell's description. So it could be like a cone shape that kind of goes in whatever direction that you choose in the shape of a cone, right? And so like you could pick yourself as a target, the point of origin, and then you could shoot it out right in front of you at a cone shape, right? Or it could be a cube shape. Some of these spells go into a cube shape from the point of origin, or a straight line from the port of origin, or even a sphere. Okay, so and those are all listed in the spell description sheet. Okay, so what I want to do here to kind of finish this up is kind of go over just a couple of these spells, kind of in real life. I don't know, just kind of go over these real quickly. The first one I want to look at is Magic Missile. We kind of talked about that just a little bit. It's a level 1 spell, and our wizard has it like right away. Level 1, you just have this spell, right? It's a level 1 evocation spell. The casting time, it tells us, is just 1 action. All right, so I'm kind of reading the spell description to you. This is how all the spells are written, so you can kind of get a feeling of what you get in the spell descriptions. So the casting time is 1 action. The range is 120 feet. So if something's further away than 120 feet, then you can't cast it on them, right? It has to be 120 feet or closer. Component has a V and a S. So that means V for verbal, so I have to be able to talk to be able to cast this. And then S is somatic, so I have to be able to do my little hand gestures while I'm talking to cast a spell. I need both those things in order to cast Magic Missile, right? The duration on the spell, well, it's just instant. It's instantaneous, right? It doesn't, these Magic Missiles don't just keep, sitting there forever. No, they just hit it and it's gone, right? It's instant. And so then it gives us a little description of what the Magic Missile does. And here's what it does. It says you create 3 glowing darts of magical force. Each dart hits a creature of your choice within the range that you can see. You have to be able to see that thing, right? It makes sense. Now, each dart, so you got 3 of these darts, right? Each dart is going to do 1d4 plus 1 damage to its target. Now, the darts all strike at the same time, regardless of distance, right? As long as it's within that range, 120 feet. And you can direct them to hit, all of them hit 1 creature, or you can direct them to hit several creatures, right? I have 1 go to this creature, and I have 2 hit this creature. I can have them each go to 1 creature if I want to, right? And it's going to do 1d4 plus 1 damage. So I'm going to roll a d4 dice, a 4-sided dice. I'm going to add 1 to that, and it's going to do that much damage to the target. Now, at higher levels, when you cast a spell using a spell slot of the 2nd level or higher, so meaning it's a level 1 spell, but let's say I'm using a level 2 spell slot for it, well, the spell is going to create an additional dart for each slot above the first. So let's say I'm using a level 3 spell slot for this. Well, I'm going to get 2 additional darts for that, all right? What is up, Bear, over on YouTube? Good to see you, my dude. Magic Missile. No, not Missile. Missile. Yeah, what's going on, man? Good to see you, my dude. All right. So yeah, like I said, if you do use a higher level spell slot for this level 1 spell, you're going to get additional darts that are going to do additional damage for you. And so you do get some benefits for using that higher level spell slot. So there you go. So that's Magic Missile. Let's look at Fireball. I know you've all heard of Fireball. Let's flip back here to the Fireball. Here we go. Now, Fireball is a level 3 evocation. All right, so remember, it's not a 1-to-1 ratio. So level 3 spell doesn't mean that if you're level 3 that you can use it. As a matter of fact, you can't. You have to be level 5 to be able to cast a level 3 spell. All right, you just kind of have to learn these things. This one's not intuitive. All right, it's on your sheet, so that's good. So it's a level 3 evocation. Its casting time is just 1 action. It's going to cost you 1 action to cast it. The components are, it tells us, are V, S, and M. So V for verbal, so you have to chant something while you're doing it. S for somatic, so you're going to have to wave your hands in some type of way. And then M for material, and it tells us in parentheses that we're going to need a tiny ball of guano and sulfur. All right. So it doesn't say that your components are used up. So I'm assuming you get to keep them. So as long as you have a ball of guano and some sulfur in your pocket, you're good to go. All right. So just kind of carry those around with you. The duration on it, again, is instantaneous because it just hits and it's gone. And the description they give us is a bright streak flashes from your pointing finger to a point you choose within range and then blossoms with a low roar into an explosion of flame. All right, so this is an area of effect spell. Each creature within a 20-foot radius sphere centered around that point of origin that you picked must make a dexterity saving throw. All right, so I was starting to think, okay, well, they can choose to, like, not choose, but they can ignore it if they pass their dexterity saving throw. Well, no, not exactly. Here's how that works. A target is going to take 8d6. You're going to roll a d6 dice 8 times, and you're going to add all that up. That's how much damage they're going to take on a failed save. So if they failed their dexterity check or saving throw, they're going to take 8d6 fire damage. But what happens if they succeed? Well, they're going to take half as much damage even if they succeed. So they'll take 4d6 fire damage even if they succeed that dexterity saving throw. And so, yeah, you're still going to be like smacking them for a lot. And it tells us that the fire spreads around corners. It ignites flammable objects in the area. As long as they're not being worn or carried, they're on fire. At higher levels, when you cast a spell using the spell slot, like a level 4 or higher spell slot, the damage increases by 1d6 for each level slot above the third level. So again, if it's a level 3 spell, if you're using a level 4 spell slot for it, you're going to gain 1d6. If you're using a level 5 spell slot for it, you're going to gain 2d6 damage for each one of those. So there you go. Pretty awesome stuff. Fireball sounds absolutely fun to me. Yeah, blow stuff up. Boom, it's gone. It's on fire. You laid waste. And there's some funny memes going around about Fireball I've been sharing on Facebook lately. Some funny stuff. Anyways, that's about it for me tonight. I appreciate you all tuning in. I'm working on a Patreon page. I'll have some more information about that here really soon. So, yeah, again, if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. You can always unsubscribe later. Like I said, it doesn't cost you anything. Just hit the button. That's it. Hit the like button for me. Share the stream, you guys. I love seeing new faces around here. Make a comment in the YouTube section if you have any questions. If this is your first time watching some D&D stuff, you don't have any idea about any of this, let me know down in the comments too. I'm kind of curious to how many people are going to find this just searching, D&D starter kit or whatever you did. Let me know what you learned today. Appreciate it. So anyways, that's it from me. Tomorrow, I'm going to be back. I'm going to be reading the GM section on the D&D starter kit. Here's the book I got right here. I'm going to be reading the GM section. Now, when I started flipping through it and reading, it seems like I'm not going to be able to do much of a deep dive on this because I'm afraid it's going to be too many spoilers. And so what I'm going to do is read this, and then I might just have to start on the Essentials kit tomorrow. We'll just have to see how much of this I can go into, because I don't want to spoil anything for you. Even though you might, if you're watching this, you're probably going to be the dungeon master, but maybe you won't. And I don't want to ruin any like campaign stuff that maybe your GM or your DM is going to give you, and that would just suck. You would know what would happen. That don't sound like any fun. So, I'm going to read through this tomorrow. So I might be finishing up with this one, or I might be starting on the D&D Essentials kit, and we'll be going through that. So I think it's probably more likely going to be the D&D Essentials kit. So, anyways, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it, and we will see you all on tomorrow. Good night.